Thank you very much. I'm honored to participate in the 10th convocation of Nirma University of Science and Technology here at Ahmedabad. My first time that I visit your beautiful city. My greetings go to your President, Dr. Patel, your Director General, Dr. Vasani, the trustees, members of the Board of Governors, the Executive Registrar, the deans, heads of departments, faculty members, and most important, the students and the parents and honored guests participating in this convocation. Before I give my talk, I just want to say and thank my good friends at the university, Dr. Vasani, for giving me the privilege today to visit Sabarmati Ashram Museum, a very special experience for me. And also the opportunity to visit the museum at Swaminarayan Ashkardam today. Very important, and thank you very much. And excuse my pronunciation. Each of you graduating today has accomplished some amazing academic results in order to be here this evening. I want to begin by congratulating you for those accomplishments. However, I also want to challenge you to set your future standards even higher. My primary goal today is to get you to really think about leadership and to focus some of your creative abilities as engineers, scientists, and pharmacists on the issue of how you can be a leader in the 21st century. Over 10 years ago, Robert Fulghum wrote a delightful book entitled All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. That book was the genesis of part of my presentation this evening. In his book, he outlined a rather profound philosophy of life based on the following simple ideas. Share everything, play fair, don't hit people, put things back where you found them, clean up your own mess, don't take things that aren't yours, say you're sorry when you hurt somebody, wash your hands before you eat, flush, warm cookies and cold milk are good for you. Live a balanced life. Learn some and think some, and draw and paint and sing and dance and play and work every day some. Take a nap every afternoon. When you go out into the world, watch out for traffic. Hold hands and stick together. Be aware of wonder. His philosophy addresses what one needs to do to get along in the world, and not at all inconsistent of what I learned when I went to kindergarten in Berlin, Germany, during the time of its reconstruction after World War II. It is hard to argue with any of these suggestions. However, the world is much more demanding today. Three forces separately and in combination are driving today's organizations deeper and deeper into territory that most leaders find frighteningly unfamiliar. These forces are customers, competition, and change. Customers of today in India and throughout the world are much better informed and have much higher expectations of those who serve them. Customers are no longer satisfied with an absence of defects, but demand a presence of value. Global competitors are everywhere, offering a wealth of value and ready to serve every customer's need. And change is constant. Stated in another way, this is like a race where you run the first 4 laps as fast as you can, and then you gradually increase the pace. These facts can be summarized, to quote Yogo Berra, the future isn't what it used to be. I'd like to think back to your kindergarten experience, just as I did while I was preparing my comments. My kindergarten experience in Berlin, and I suspect yours also, had some messages that still affect our lives. These messages include how to ask to stack blocks, how to sit and listen to a book being read, and so forth. I also learned to think of a teacher as the magical source of all knowledge and the ultimate person in charge of my world at school. Learning seemed finite all that time, with an expectation that it would end when school was over. Much of this learning had to do with compliance, how to do what I was told. I must admit that I didn't always do particularly well in complying with the system, but that I talk about at some other time. Through this experience, we learned that the goal of life for good corporate citizens or good managers was to have written on their tombstones that they have never overspent a budget or broken a rule. We will do things in a certain way because it is policy. We have always done it that way. With compliance completely mastered and viewed as critically important, one derives the second article of faith of the old management style, also taught in kindergarten, that watching is better than doing. Watching in a wide variety of forms is necessary to be sure that others in the organizations are being compliant. We all learned in kindergarten that if we were good, that meant compliant, that we could get promoted to being a monitor, watching others to be sure that they were compliant. With watching as an activity of extraordinary value, endless staff groups and management roles were created to do it. None of these people ever produced a product or service that was of value to a customer. Watching has become close to establishing a corporate aristocracy. The watchers live in palaces far removed from the masses of workers. They vie for the favor of the king or queen in hopes of a new title. They enjoy privileges beyond the reach or dreams of the common workers, the doers, the ones who actually produce the product or services for which customers pay for. The final tenet of the old management approach told us that in the event of a breakdown or failure that we should apply the rule, just try harder. Organizations in trouble almost always respond to the crisis by doing more of what they're already doing. However, rather than trying harder, the correct answer may be that the job needs to be changed or even eliminated. Futility, after all, is working hard to do something well that doesn't need to be done at all. If you don't have the correct roadmap, improving performance and attitude will just get you to the wrong place faster and happier. But you will still be at the wrong place. So what should we do? The management consultant Peter Drucker provided us with some valuable insight that he wrote, every organization has to prepare for the abandonment of everything it does. This is a pretty unequivocal statement. He went on to say that every organization has to learn to ask of every process, every program, every procedure, and every policy. If we did not do this already, Would we begin it now, knowing what we now know? And if the answer is no, the organization has to change. I urge you, as you embark on your new path, to subject everything that you do to this Drucker test. As we begin to think about leading, we face a critical choice between patriarchy or matriarchy and partnership. Patriarchy expresses the belief that those at the top are responsible for the success of the organization and the well-being of its members. There is a lot of comfort in the all-knowing teacher, parent, or boss that gives the right answers. There's also little validity in this model. However, we are reluctant to let go of the belief that if I'm taking care of something, that I must control it. Patriarchy believes that the way to protect animals is to put them into the zoo. The second choice is between dependency and empowerment. Dependency rests on the belief that the people in power know what is best for others. Dependency also holds those above are personally responsible for how we feel about ourselves and for how much freedom we have. Dependency is the collusion required for patriarchy to endure. Empowerment, on the other hand, embodies the belief that the answer to the latest crisis lies within each of us, and therefore we all buckle up for the adventure. Perhaps the critical advantage of empowerment is the truth that you cannot dictate resourcefulness. If you want people to put their heart and mind into a project, then you better empower them. Empowerment is not the right to do as we please, but to be pleased to do what is right for the customers. Finally, the choice we must make is between service and self-interest. Both are attractive. The fire and intensity of self-interest seems to burn all around us. At the same time, we all seek leaders who we can trust. We want leaders who are serving their institution rather than themselves. I would like to offer 4 challenges to you as you think about your leadership journey. First, make learning an ongoing part of your life. Read and actively engage in at least one book on leadership or any subject. Those who choose not to read are no better off than those who cannot read. Learn fast and help everyone else to learn fast. In the end, learning faster than others may be the only sustainable competitive advantage. Learning faster than others may be the only sustainable competitive advantage. Think about that. Second, teach reality by asking questions that help people to become what they must be for their organization to thrive. As Alice in Wonderland said, if you don't know where you're heading, any road is as good as another. Or again, the words of Barra, if you don't know where you're going, you will wind up somewhere else. Third, raise expectations by asking questions that help people see and become what they can be for themselves. Most of us can do a great deal more than we believe. Mr. Rogers, the founder and CEO of Cypress Semiconductors, has a very nice way of suggesting how goals for his organization should be set. Be realistic. Demand the impossible. The amazing thing is how often the impossible can be achieved with good leadership. Finally, learn to really listen. Invite and encourage open dialogue. The greatest lesson in life is to know that even fools are right sometimes. The capacity to listen and particularly in the changing multicultural world, is crucial. How many times have we thought that we were listening to people, but really, really weren't? We are now in the 21st century. We look forward to an age when knowledge is the primary driver of success. The economy is worldwide, and success flows to the swift. The old Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu described the type of leader that I hope each of you will strive to be. As for the best leaders, the people do not notice their existence. The next best, the people honor and praise. The next, the people fear. And the next, the people hate. When the best leader's work is done, the people say, "We did it ourselves." The item on my list probably weren't in your kindergarten list. They were not in my kindergarten list. As the old man said when asked for directions, "If I were you, I wouldn't start from here." But this is where we must start from, and it is time to get started. There will never be an earlier time. Just remember, the future isn't what it used to be, and what you learned in kindergarten may not be at all that you need to know. What I also want to talk about today is the difference between gifts and choices. Cleverness is a gift. Kindness, however, is a choice. Gifts are easy. They are given after all. Choices can be hard. You can seduce yourself with your gifts if you're not careful. And if you do, it'll probably be to the detriment of your choices. This is a group, you are a group of many, many gifts. I'm sure one of your gifts is the gift of a smart and capable brain. I'm confident that's the case because admission is competitive, and if there weren't some signs that you're clever, the registrar wouldn't have let you in. Your smarts will come in handy because you will travel in a world of marvels. We humans, plodding as we are, will astonish ourselves. We'll invent ways to generate clean energy, and a lot of it, atom by atom. And we'll assemble tiny machines that will enter cell walls and make repairs. I believe you'll even see us understand the human brain. Julius Verne, Mark Twain, Galileo, Newton, all the curious from the ages would have wanted to be alive most of all right now. As a civilization, we will have so many gifts, just as you as individuals have so many individual gifts as you sit before us here. How will you use those gifts? And will you take pride in your gifts or pride in your choices? Will inertia be your guide, or will you follow your passions? Will you follow dogma, or will you be original? Will you choose a life of ease or a life of service and adventure? Will you wilt under criticism, or will you follow your convictions? Will you bluff it out when you're wrong, or will you apologize? Will you guard your heart against rejection, or will you act when you fall in love? Will you play it safe, or will you be a little bit swashbuckling? When it's tough, will you give up, or will you be relentless? Will you be a cynic, or will you be a builder? Will you be clever at the expense of others, or will you be kind? I will hazard a prediction tonight. When you're 80 years old and in a quiet moment of reflection, narrating for only yourself the most personal version of your life story, the telling that will be most compact and meaningful will be the series of choices you have made. In the end, We are our choices. Build yourself a great story. In this momentous evening of your life, I now want to take you on a journey in your time machine. I want each of you to get into your time machine and press the button to travel 100 years into the past. In the early 20th century, when your great-grandparents were about your age. As you look around, most of what we take for granted today did not exist at that time. Many of those have had a profound impact on the quality of our lives. The National Academy of Engineering in the United States has described some of the changes in the last century as century of innovation. 20 engineering achievements that transformed our lives. I will give a few examples of the state of the various technologies that we do take for granted today. Electricity. Very little electricity available. The Sturm turbine generator was invented by Charles Curtis in 1903 for generating electricity and was a major step toward widespread availability of electricity in the United States, for example. Automobile cars were a luxury for the very wealthy. In 1908, Henry Ford began the production of 10,000 Model T Ford cars by using the assembly line concept. Airplane, Wright brothers in 1903 completed a 59-second flight. Water distribution and supply. In 1908, a simple glass of water could quench your thirst or kill you with cholera or typhoid. Public work projects for safe drinking water had just begun in many parts of the world. John Fleming, in terms of electronics, radio, and television, in 1904 invents a vacuum tube rectifier which prevents electron flow from reversing, which is the foundation of electric circuits. Edwin Armstrong in 1912 invents the radio using these vacuum tubes. John Beard in 1924 demonstrates crude television. The future of electronics transformed by John Barden in 1947 discovers the first transistor using semiconducting materials. These are combined into integrated circuits for television, radios, computers, and electronic devices. Computers. John Asamoah and Clifford Berry in 1939 designed the first electronic computer. The first personal computer, Apple II, was invented in 1978. I very much remember it. Alexander Graham Bell in 1876 invented the telephone. For the first time ever, the sound of human voice was transmitted by electrical signal. Bell in 1915 made the first transcontinental call to Watson. In 1973, Martin Cooper of Motorola invented the first cellular telephone. Clunky and expensive, it was still innovative. Air conditioning and refrigeration. Highways. Gulf Oil and other oil companies in 1910 introduced asphalt manufactured as byproduct of oil refining process. Serves the need for paved roads for automobiles. Spacecraft. Tsiolkovsky in 1903 in Russia mathematically demonstrate how to achieve liftoff using liquid fuels. Neil Armstrong, I also remembered vividly in 1969, the first man to walk on the moon. ARPANET, the internet, in 1966 begins as a tool for academic research. In 1991, the World Wide Web software was developed. Dutch physicians developed the first ECG machine in 1903. First kidney transplant in Boston in 1954. The first artificial heart implanted in 1982. petroleum and petrochemical technologies, North America's first oil well in Texas in 1901. In the 1920s to 40s, a range of plastics as byproducts of petroleum refining, offshore drilling in 1947. And nuclear technologies. Scientists split the atom with protons accelerated to high speed in 1932. Scientists achieved first self-controlled nuclear chain reaction in 1942. All these technologies have dramatically improved the way we live. Engineering, medical, and scientific achievements have led to dramatic changes in the way we grow, preserve, and cook our food, prevent and treat disease, design and manufacture complex machinery, communicate with each other, move from one place to another, cool and heat our homes, entertain ourselves, and many, many other things. What is technology? Is technology something new only in the past century? When did technology actually begin? People have always used technology. Technology is simply using the knowledge we have to create things that people need. Because our knowledge has grown, technology has grown with it. Human beings have developed technology from the time of simple spears, bows and arrows and grinding stones of our earliest ancestors to the complex machinery and systems of today. These were developed by scientific and engineering minds. So what is engineering? Engineering creates new technology that did not exist to take care of people's needs. Engineering is fun and exciting because of this. Engineers create something new within the constraints of nature and society. Scientists study nature and tell us about these constraints. Other constraints, such as economic and legal, are addressed by other professions in business and in law. This has been happening since the beginning of civilization. Get into your time machine and go to the Stone Age, when people used stones to make tools for hunting and cooking. They used these materials to make the tools that help them carry out every task. Take the time machine to the Bronze Age, when people began to craft tools and weapons from bronze, a mixture of copper and tin. Bronze was lighter than stone, and tools were sharper and stronger. Take the time machine to Iron Age, when iron eventually replaced bronze as the primary metal for tool making. During this time, key inventions to meet different needs were made in agriculture, irrigation, sewage, water wheels, machinery. Take the time machine through the Industrial Revolution, high-quality iron using coal, machines powered by steam, great leap forward in manufacturing. Now come back to 2010, the Silicon Age, the age of information technology, as we may call it. And how do engineers create new technologies? New ideas and technologies come from combining older technologies. Engineers need to have information about older technologies and use their creativity to combine them into new technologies. The more the number of existing technologies, the more the possibilities of new inventions. Hence, the exponential rate of technological change throughout history. New inventions were very slow in the beginning, since fewer technologies were available for combining. Today, the rate is phenomenal. Knowledge and communication and technologies is critical. Let us step further back in our time machine and look at communication technologies. Early civilizations and symbols, then came oral language, later writing on leaves, and then paper and ink, printing, invention of typeset. Now internet in the 1900s, faster and more widespread communication of knowledge leads to exponential rate of increase in communication, and new technologies developed in the information age. Now I want you to step into your time machine and press the button for 100 years into the future. 2110. 8 grandchildren will be about your age. You can see from the past 100 years, most of what we would see today will not be around in 2110, except in a museum. The rate of technological change will even be much faster than the past 100 years because of faster communications. Each of you will play an important part in this exciting change. It is your responsibility to guide these technologies in the direction of better quality of life, not just material, for all, round to support benefits to human beings, leading to social justice, equality and dignity for all human beings in the world. I think these are important values of this honorable institution. India has been the leader in information technology. India graduates more than 500,000 of you each year, 10 times that of the United States. You are one of them. You will be responsible for creating the technologies for the next century. The Middle Eastern countries have crude oil and use the term petrodollars to define their economy. India has enormous talent in people like you. You can use the term talent dollars to build your economy and make a huge impact on the world. Use this power and opportunity wisely. Engineer a better world and have fun doing it. Thank you very much.